Good evening, parents. Welcome to our online meeting tonight. This is now the second meeting that we are hosting online. Last night was for the ECD, and as you know, tonight is from PR up to grade 3. Thank you for joining me for this webinar, and I'm going to hopefully answer all your questions that you might have tonight, also on the way going forward. And also already, and I will thank you again, thank you to everybody that sent me questions, and hopefully I've answered all your questions tonight. So I'm going to now move over to my PowerPoint presentation. And so tonight we're actually going to chat about what is the way forward, what is happening next, how are we as a school going to tackle the situation that we currently have, and how did we tackle the situation up to this point. And you have noticed that we sent out a letter on Sunday night where we've explained to you what we're going to do, and we said to you that we're going to break it up into 8 stages. And I'm going to explain every stage in detail tonight again, just to explain to take this forward. So we as the senior management team sat around the table and decided or thought about how can we make it easier for you as parents to understand at what stage we are and what is going to happen in the next stage. So I hope you read this already and that it made sense. So if you look at stage 1, we said that this is the stage that we are currently in, and this is a stage where we already launched our online teaching. So the online learning that started on the 15th of April, and as I already said numerous times, we will continue with online learning. We did say until the end of August 2020, but it might be even prolonged after that if it's necessary to do that. So that means that if we're allowed to come back to school, even if we're allowed to come back to school, we will then run online learning and face-to-face learning parallel, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then also part of this stage is now we are waiting, while we are continuing with our online learning, we are now waiting for the president to give us the permission to continue with classroom schooling or with schooling on campus. So that's stage 2. We are now waiting for stage 2, where President Ramaphosa will hopefully give us permission soon to come back to school. Step 3, the Minister of Basic Education, we all knew was what would provide schools with clear guidance on how schools should reopen when the President has given us permission to do so. You also would have been aware that she was going to speak to us to the public yesterday, but unfortunately that meeting was now postponed. I believe it's going to take place on Thursday, but it's not confirmed yet. We were hoping already that when we run these parent evenings, she would have had a speech and she would have been able to give us more clarity on the way forward. But we are still waiting for her to make a speech that we know what's the way forward. So basically what's going to happen is we will only be allowed to start a couple of grades in the beginning and then gradually phase in the other grades. That's what the minister is currently saying. But we are part of the South African Independent Schools Association of South Africa. And I was in a heads meeting this afternoon again, where it seems like we as independent schools will be able to follow a different route than the government schools when we are allowed to come back. And the biggest reason for that is because we have less kids in the class. That makes spatial distancing a little bit less of a problem for us than for government schools, which have more kids in the class than what we have. But again, so what the SASA have submitted a plan on behalf of the independent schools on Friday night, this past Friday evening. They submitted it to the Director General of the Minister of Education, and he and the Minister of Education will look at this plan. But it seems like they are happy with the plan that SASA submitted, and they are happy that we might be able to follow a different route, as I just explained, because we have less pupils in a classroom and etc. But all of this will only be finalized once the minister has have made it, has had made the announcement of when we can start. And up to that point, we need to wait to give us the start. But the good news is that, for example, in the government schools, they might only start with grade 12 and 7, the next week start with grade 11 and 6, and then go on. And by 7th of July, all grades will be back at school. It seems like we as independent schools will be able to bring our grades sooner back than later, and we don't have to follow the same route as the government schools. But we'll communicate that route once we know what's going to happen. Also, then that's stage 3. And then stage 4 is, once we have more clarity on the way forward, we will then communicate with you in terms of the exact day we will start, which grades will be allowed to return to the school first, and how we will gradually phase in the other grades. And even here, if we are allowed to follow a different route than what they will do in the government schools, again, we will clearly state to you who we're bringing back and why we're bringing them back at that stage. And we will then try to bring all grades back as soon as possible. But again, this process will be strictly prescribed by the President, Minister of Education, and also by ISASA. Stage 5 is then when we will then reopen our doors for face-to-face learning for the grades as approved by the Minister of Basic Education and as advised by ISASA. And again, as I said, online learning and face-to-face classes will run concurrently. At stage 5, all sports and cultural events will still not take place, and all assemblies will be done online. So because every classroom have a television, so all kids will be in the classroom, and Mr. Homan, where he normally did his assemblies in the main chapel or in the hall, he will then sit in his office and he can still then run assemblies, and even kids that's still at home will then be able to be part of assembly. The reason for this is for running online learning and face-to-face classes together is that we do know that some of you have the privilege to stay at home. It's only your spouse that work, and you have the ability to keep them at home, and you might feel it's not safe yet for them to come back to school. So you rather keep them at home. But if you make that choice, you will not be disadvantaged. You will still have the full online product that will run concurrently with the face-to-face learning. So we will make sure that no parent or pupil is disadvantaged if they rather decide they don't want to bring their kids back at this stage. You might want to wait for summer before you bring them back. And those are for the parents, as I said, that are privileged, that only one work and the other person can stay at home, the other parent can stay at home and assist with the kids with online learning. Then also the last bullet here, second last bullet, aftercare will open for the relevant grades, also at stage 5. And the last bullet for the grades who are back at school, physical education will start with a program that supports spatial distancing. And Roy Adams, who's the head of sport, is already worked on a plan and have the plan ready when we start. The physical education lessons for home-based pupils will still be published electronically like they are now. In stage 6, then we will have gradually will then allow all the other grades back at school, who's not yet back at that stage. And again, we'll do this with advice from the Minister of Education and ISASA. And at this stage, again, online learning and face-to-face classes will continue and will run concurrently. And also at stage 6, still no sport or cultural events will take place, only physical education and music lessons and drama will take place. The School of the Arts subjects will take place, but cultural events and actual sport will not take place at this stage. Stage 7, this is where we're starting to move into a low alert, and this stage will only apply once the epidemic is classified as a non-risk. This stage will fall in line with phase 1, which is called all clear of the President's 5-phase coronavirus plan that he announced on Thursday evening. So CBC will then end online teaching at this phase because now the risk is over. It's now safe to have everybody back on campus. Sports and cultural events and other events that are deemed safe by myself and in line with the present orders will then be able to start. And then we'll move over to our last stage, and this stage will apply once we know that the epidemic is officially over, and all sport and cultural events that could not start at stage 7 will now start at this stage. And that will be, we will then be back at normal, whatever normal will be at that stage. So how's it going to look like when you come back to school? What are we looking? What are we planning behind the scenes, and what's going to happen? So first of all, equipment. All persons that want to gain access to any facility of St. Patrick's CBC will be required to sanitize their hands using an alcohol-based liquid provided by us at the entrance gates. Pupils and staff will be required to sanitize their hands upon entry and exit of all classrooms and venues as well. So even if you're now on property, if the pupils are changing classes, they will have to sanitize their hands. Staff that roams around from one office to the next, they will have to sanitize their hands. Educational and sporting equipment will be cleaned with alcohol-based cleaning materials throughout the day. And especially for the lower grades, readers will be disinfected once returned and before issued to another pupil. But we actually are looking at this point, and we might not issue any readers at this stage. We will continue the way that we are doing the online read, that the pupils continue with those sheets in front of them, and that's their own sheets, and there's only sheets that they touch. The readers we might get back until we are through this crisis. Then also, if you're now standing at the gate and you want to get access to the property, another thing that needs to happen is that every person will have to go through a compulsory body temperature analysis. And we already bought 4 of these thermometers at 2,000 a piece, and they will be hopefully within our hands in the next week. It is a no-touch thermometer, and persons with a body temperature of 38 degrees or above will not be granted access to any of our facilities. We are waiting for the final guidelines from ISASA, but it seems like that is going to be definitely one of the rules. Standard precautions of infection control. General high standards of cleanliness will be observed at all times. Staff will ensure that pupils wash their hands on a regular basis using liquid soap dispensers and hand drying facilities of a disposable nature. So meaning after they wash their hands, then there will be paper towels that they can then use to dry their hands. It will be all thrown into a closed bin. From protection and control, fabric face masks will be compulsory for all persons on campus, and the school will supply all pupils with 1 mask free of charge. You may buy for yourselves and also additional masks for your children, and they are 30 Rand a mask, and they will be stocked at the uniform shop. On Friday, we will receive already the first 300, and by next week, Friday, we'll receive the next 1,000. So they are being manufactured, but unfortunately, you will only be able to buy them once we are allowed to start trading at the school after the Minister of Education said, Basic Education said that we are allowed to open. So for now, you are more than welcome to send through your orders to Jomery at info@stpatricks.co.za to order. And we will send out that communication soon where we will tell you where you can order. But we already spoken to the supplier about stock, and I will allude to that a little bit later. So there are the face masks, and they are triple layered, and it's a breathable, soft fabric for comfortable fit. The question I get is that where the logo is that embroidered? No, it's not. It's printed on the material, so it doesn't create a scratching effect or weaken the material. It is the same. It's the same as the rest material because it is printed on the material. It will then have a size strap to fit all head sizes and easy to wear for younger pupils. And it is branded to show our pride in St. Patrick's CBC and our aim to be a positive change in the world. And therefore you can see the slogan on there, be the change you want to see in the world. The question I received, will we always have enough stock? We've spoken to our supplier today. We in total are already manufacturing 3,000 masks. And as I said, we will supply every pupil with a mask, and every staff member will also be supplied with masks. It's just the recommendation are there that you have 2 or more. So the first mask we're giving you, we are paying for it from a school point of view, but you can, as I then said, order and buy the mask from the school uniform shop. We also, if we run low in stock, they will within 5 days replenish our stock as well. So there's no 6, 7, 8 weeks that we have to wait for, and we will always make sure that we have enough stock. So that's also, you don't have to worry that we are going to run out of stock. We also have made 3 sizes. So from ECD right up to grade 12, there will be a size that fits yourself and your child. Then, of course, from a school point of view, which is really going to be difficult for us to manage, but that we have to, and that is social distancing. And desks will be placed 1 meter apart from each other. We are also looking at introducing protective screens between the desks in the smaller classes. And when I say protective screens, there's an actual fact, if you look at me now currently, it will be a divider this side, a divider that side, and a divider in front of me. And we are looking at that it might be on the desk. And that is for the little ones that we all know are still sometimes forgetting to have a tissue ready when they sneeze or when they cough, to cough on the arm, although the staff will continue explaining that to them and reiterating that's what they need to do. But we want to put up these protective screens just to protect everyone a little bit more as well. And that will be made in-house. Then staggering the beginning and the end of the school day is definitely something we are looking at, because every person that enters the property needs to be screened for temperature and etc. So we are looking at staggering the beginning and the end of the school day. Cancellation of assemblies, sports and cultural events and other events that create crowded conditions will be now cancelled, as I said, until we get to stage 7. Physical education will support spatial distancing, and also for the little ones, we are looking that and already what's happening from PR right to grade 3, they are sitting at their own desk, and we'll make sure going forward that they sit in their own desk. That will also make touching of surfaces less. We are also looking at from grade 4 up that the kids don't change classes, but that the staff rather rotate. From grade 4 to 7, we should be able to get that right. Even in our high school, grade 8 and 9, but grade 10, 11, 12, where they split into different subjects, that we are looking at how we're going to do that. And that I will have my discussion with the high school parents on Thursday evening. But we are trying that, so even in foundation phase, PR and R, they will sit at their own desk and the staff will rather rotate than the kids will rotate. And that is that they touch less surfaces during the day. From a quarantine period, when pupils have traveled abroad or to high-risk areas or come in contact with persons who have traveled abroad or to high-risk areas, they will have to be quarantined for 14 days. All pupils who come in contact with infected persons will have to be quarantined. So this means that if you as a parent travel and you come home and you come from a high-risk area and your kids have contact with you, then they will have to be quarantined. And this is, again, just to keep your family safe and to keep the rest of the school safe as well. And this will apply until we've reached stage 1 of the President's 5-stage plan. So the question I'm getting is, what am I paying for? And currently, while we are doing online lessons, and this is what you are currently paying for. First of all, you are paying for following the IEB curriculum. So all the lessons that's been sent on a daily basis or that you're following on a daily basis at home, those are still continue being based on the IEB curriculum. The online lessons are compiled by the teachers who are the specialists. So this means that you don't have to go onto websites and look for material that you think is age appropriate. You are already receiving the age appropriate material, and all you need to do is you need to facilitate the content to your kids, not teach. And that's the difference from us and other schools that might use generic websites or generic material. Our material is still what your little one would have had in class and what they would have done on a daily basis. Also, by helping us facilitating this lesson at home, your little one is still being developed and they're not losing out on that crucial time, especially in grade 1 where they just learned how to read, and those readers of reading material still goes home on a weekly basis where they learn to read as well. So that already is quite a difference. And I would like to thank every parent. I know it's not easy, that is sitting at home, facilitating the lessons and taking the material that we're sending home, and you are facilitating that lesson. A huge thank you for that, and I really appreciate it. I also get the question currently, but now that we go down to level 4, some of the mums that were able to help the little ones at home might not now have the time during the day. Here I would like to emphasize, concentrate on math, English, and Afrikaans. The rest is a bonus if you get to it. Also, if you don't finish all the work on a daily basis, don't beat yourself up. Try to see maybe if you can catch some of it up over the weekend as well. But as long as you get the basics through, you are doing extremely well. And that I want to emphasize tonight again. Try to get the basics. We don't want the kids to sit at home and lose out in development. If you struggle to get to the full lesson on a daily basis because your kids might have different concentration spans, don't beat them up and don't beat yourself up. Concentrate on the basics. And the teachers are available. If you want to know, if you're struggling to get all the content through on a daily basis, speak to the teacher and ask them, out of this lesson, what would you like me to really concentrate on? And they will assist you in that sense. I also want to remind you that you as parents and little ones that might struggle during this time, that might have lost income, that might have that struggle and going through tough times at home. Our pupil support department is also still available, and they're just a phone call or WhatsApp away or email. So please make contact with them as well. So that is all what you are paying for and continuing paying for. And also the next step, you might feel that there's a little bit of cost saving on our side because we're not using all our printing facilities and etc. But also remember, as we're going to go forward, there will be huge cost implications on us as well. For example, the sanitizing and cleaning costs will triple, resulting in more also cleaning staff needed to ensure that we can sanitize the classrooms and the desks on an hourly basis. Also, the budget that we've drawn up for the year are based on the numbers and that we had at the beginning of the year. So our planning is based on the budget that we're drawn up and on your fees that we budget that we're going to get in for the full year. What parents are saying currently is, but I don't have to pay for April and May because you're just doing online learning. That's not the case. Remember, school fees in actual fact are due at the beginning of the year, payable in advance. But we know parents don't have that capacity to do that. And that is why schools break it up in over 11 months to make it easier for you to pay. But we as a school did budget for that, for those fees. And also, our overheads, our fixed overheads are still continuing to run. For example, building maintenance after the storm that we had quite a lot of damage that we had to fix and to maintain. Even though the insurance is going to pay out, there was still damage that we had to that cost that we had to take into account. Also on top of that, our salaries need to be paid, our security need to pay, we paid Sol Plaatjie, our municipality accounts will be, we need to pay. You as parents, you complain about how much you pay for your Sol Plaatjie on a monthly basis. I can tell you the school account is enormous as well. So all of those things still need to be paid regardless that we have kids on campus or not. Also, we need to retain our staff for when they reopen, when we reopen. The school will supply all pupils with one fabric mask. So we've taken that also into account and we will bear that cost. I get a question about aftercare, and I'll talk about term calendars and holidays a little bit later. But we encourage you as parents, if your kids on aftercare, to continue to pay aftercare because we are going to have less holidays. So you might feel you are now paying for aftercare that is not happening, but we rather suggest you to continue to pay for aftercare because when we are back, we are going to have far less holidays than what we planned for already. and we will take that into account. And any money that we've charged for aftercare, that for days that your kids didn't have aftercare by the end of the year, we will then give you a refund for the aftercare. We are taking advice from the Independent Schools Association of South Africa that because we are offering an online service, we must continue charging fees. The question I'm getting quite a lot is, are we going to give parents a credit or refund if we have savings by the end of the year? I can't make that promise. We have no clue currently what's the effect of this epidemic on our school. So I will be irresponsible if I say tonight, if there's money available, we will refund. We might need that money just to pull through, because we do know that quite a few families have lost their income. So mom and dad is not earning, and they might not be able to come back to St. Patrick's CBC. But we want to re-emphasize that any parent that's currently under financial strain, you're more than welcome to ask us to help assist you with a payment plan going forward. So please, if you haven't done it yet, please contact us and let's see how we can team together and assist you. But at this stage, I can't say that there will be school fees credited back to you because we're having savings or whatever. We will only know by the end of the year what the real impact on this virus was on the school. So my appeal to you as parents is to please continue paying your school fees. We have applied for COVID-19 relief, and we also have applied for UIF 19 for some of our staff that's not at school. But none of that has been granted yet, and we even don't know if it will be granted, because independent schools are seen differently, especially with the COVID-19 fund. And again, if we do get the COVID-19 fees, we might just have to need those fees to be able to pull the school through at the end of the year. So I can't even say to you, oh, we're going to get money, or we have applied, and if we get the money, we'll give it back to you. I can't do that. We will only know what's the effect of this virus or this epidemic on the school only by the end of the year. Because I know a lot of you as parents are also waiting to see when you go back to school, or to work rather, what the impact will be on your business. We sit in the same boat. So we have applied, we are trying to see what we can do, but I can't make any promises at this stage. All I'm asking is please continue paying your school fees, because the school needs to continue. It needs to continue to be sustainable, and we need to make sure that we are here when you come back, when we are allowed to come back to school. I hope I've answered that question tonight. We've you've submitted your online learning survey, and a huge thank you to every parent that's given us feedback. And I'm going to run through it now, what your feedback was. So for grade PR, we asked the question, all the questions for the grades, but PR answered the following. My child is able to access online lessons each day. 90% of you said you can access those lessons. 87% of you, 86.70 said my child is coping with online lessons. 83.40 said that lesson content, you are very satisfied and satisfied. 56.7% of you said in PR that the lessons keep my child occupied for the allotted time. But here we know that every child is different, and they've got concentration span. Their concentration spans are different. So we've seen that stat. But again, don't beat yourself up if you don't keep your child busy for hours. That's not the intention. The intention is to play, learn, that they get the information through. The teachers addresses queries my child may have, yes, without delay, 90%, and that was also good to see. And then 96.7% of you said that I'm a proud member of St. Patrick's CBC, and you will see in grade R we had 97. That's one parent per age group. Here PR and R that said they are unhappy, and that unhappiness was because they haven't received any information up to this point. So they managed to complete the survey, but they haven't received all the other information. Both parents were contacted, and we've alleviated their problem. My child's able to access online lessons in grade R. 83.30 said that they're able to access the lessons. 91.7% said that they're coping with the online lessons. 91.7% said that the lesson content is satisfied and very satisfied with the content. 36.10% of parents said that they managed to keeping the child occupied for that lesson. I've answered that one. And then 94.4% of parents said that their teachers address their queries without delay. And then I'm a proud member of St. Patrick's CBC, as I said, 97.2, and that is one parent as well. And they were, we've addressed their issues. From grade 1, 2, and 3, remember you had a little bit more questions to answer than in PR and R. The first question was the same. My child's able to access online lessons. Grade 1 said 93.2%. In grade 2, 97.5% able to access the online lessons each day, and in grade 3, 91.50. My child is coping with online lessons in grade 1. 86.40% of parents said that their kids are coping with it. In grade 2, 87.50. In grade 3, 89.40. The lesson content, very satisfied and satisfied. I was delighted to see these stats. In English, everybody is 100% satisfied. In mathematics, 97.73% in grade 1, 95% in grade 2, and 97.87% in grade 3 are satisfied or very satisfied with math. In Afrikaans, grade 2, 90%, and grade 3, 82.98%. Grade 1, that was not a question. In the next section, each lesson keeps my child occupied for the allotted time. English in grade 1, 61.36%, as well as in mathematics, we had the same stat. In grade 2, we had for English 47.50, for mathematics 40%, and for Afrikaans 50%. In grade 3, we had for English 53.19%, for mathematics 55.32%, and for Afrikaans 59.57%. We have looked at those stats, and we again realized that your faster kids will work faster, and therefore parents will say, oh, you're not keeping them busy for the full hour, but you're also taking into account the kids that might take a little bit longer to complete those lessons as well. But we are looking at that stat. The teacher addresses queries my child may have without delay. And for English grade 1, 84.09, and for mathematics, 88.64%. For grade 2, English 90%, mathematics 90%, and Afrikaans 92.55%. For grade 3, English and mathematics and Afrikaans all at the same stat of 85.11%. And all those stats are quite high, which I'm delighted to see. My child requires parental assistance during the online lessons, and you will see they do gradually go down from grade to grade. So English grade 1, 79.55%, and for mathematics, 72.73%. For grade 2, English, they need 60% of you need help at home, or kiddies need help from parents, 70% in math, and 85% Afrikaans. In grade 3, 70% needed help from parents in English, 61.7% in mathematics, and 85.11% in Afrikaans. And every parent that filled in the survey said, in this section, said that they're a proud member of St. Patrick's CBC, and I was delighted to see that, and a huge thank you for that. You've also given us comments, and we've looked at the comments, and for some of them, for example, can the Afrikaans lessons include voiceovers? And you'll see now that they do now have voiceovers to better assist you at home to hear the sound, to hear the word is pronounced, sorry, and how to, and then to explain it to your kids. Also, more videos from the teachers. You will see that the videos have been upped. So there's more instructional videos. There's more story time and sing-along videos in grade PR and R. And the question about, can we please rather send WhatsApp videos instead of YouTube? Why we do use YouTube is because they give us, you can record longer lessons or a longer video in YouTube than you can do in WhatsApp. And that's why we are doing it on the YouTube app. Then also support and assistance with content. I need to remind you that the teachers is a phone call away, they are WhatsApp away, they are an email away. They will gladly assist you if you need assistance with content. And workload and time allocations, as I explained, we're trying to take the average child into account when we prepare the lesson. So the kids that work faster will finish earlier, but we're also taking the kids that might take a little bit longer to finish the lesson, we're taking them also into account as well. Then the question about data. We as a school just do not have the resources to give every parent data, but we are looking at cheaper options that we can say to you, and we will look, hopefully you can distribute that tomorrow for you as parents, to say there are companies here in Kimberley that can give data at a very good rate. And we're going to send that through. We're not endorsing any company, it's just who we know, and we'll give that through to you as a parent, and you can then use that. You also notice that that's why our lessons are not live, because the more you go live, the more it eats into data. And that's why we also decided that we rather do the way we're doing our lessons currently. Also, if you miss a live lesson, you missed it. With our way of doing it, it's always available. So if you are not available to teach your little one in the morning or to facilitate the lesson rather in the morning, then you can facilitate it at night and you haven't missed out on anything. And that's the reason, two reasons why we're not going for live lessons. First of all, it's data intensive. It really eats into data. It makes it more expensive. But number two, that if you might have not had time to facilitate the lesson in the morning, or your little one didn't feel well, you know that you didn't miss out. You can then use that lesson later when it suits you. Suggestions on alternative materials to use for artworks and activities. We've also sent that out, that to say if we do an artwork activity, we're giving you more options that you can use to be able to do that art piece or artwork at home. Also, I get a question quite a lot about printing. I need to remind you this, sorry, there's no need to print. For example, grade 2 and grade 3, the booklets that we sent, there's no need to print it. I know that in those booklets, it might ask you 1 or 2 pages to print it. The teachers already did say to you, it's not necessary to print it. You can just do it in their books and bring it when you come back to school. So please do not pull out your hair if you cannot print. It's not necessary to print. I do believe for Afrikaans they did ask for some printing, but again, you don't need to print it. You can do it on normal paper and just bring it back to school when we are allowed to come back. The question about books and stationery, you left it in the classroom. As soon as we allowed you to open our doors, and let's, for example, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3, PR and R is not back at that stage, we will then make it available at reception to be fetched. But I can only do that once we are allowed to go back to school. And then a big appeal to everybody is to please read your instructions. We do pick up that a lot of parents miss information because you probably do what I'm doing. We scan. I don't always read thoroughly. I just scan and then realize if I just read properly, I would have seen the information. So the teachers are really just asking you, please don't scan documents, read it thoroughly. And if you really don't understand, just contact them, or on your official WhatsApp group, send through the question back on the official WhatsApp group. We will get it and we'll convey that to the teacher to assist you. Also, a huge thank you for your feedback. We really appreciate it, and you would have noticed that we've already taken those feedback into account and already made changes, and we'll continue making changes going forward as we get your feedback and suggestions. Unfortunately, not all suggestions and feedback are feasible, but those that we can take into account and apply, we did, and we'll continue. And don't stop sending suggestions through or feedback just because we're not sending out a survey. Please send it. We value your feedback. Just a couple of general topics. The question about should we keep the completed tasks and projects at home and send it back to school when we start, please do. Every work piece that they've done, please keep it safe. And when they come back to school, then send it with them to school. Also, if the memorandum for exercises are made available the next day after they had to do the exercise. I know some grades even give the memorandum when they give the exercise. The teacher said you're more than welcome to mark on the work. Don't be polite. You're allowed to mark on that sheet, and we'll see your marking when it comes back to school. So please You can mark as the parent straight on that mark sheet, and you can send it also to school when we start. We are going to do a return to school on a return to schooling on campus survey, and this survey will tell us who of you are going to send your kids back immediately to school, especially mom and dad that needs to go back to work. We understand you'll probably send your kids back immediately. And as I said earlier, some of you are privileged where only the spouse work and you are at home and can do the online learning still during that period. We would like to know from you, when are you going to send your kids back? That, of course, that's when we are allowed to have them back. And that will help us with our planning purposes going forward. So if we know that, for example, in grade 1, where there are 80 kids, if we know that only 50 is going to come back at the beginning and the other 30 will be homeschooled during that period, we will then know from a spatial point of view what we need to take into account, for example, how we're going to do our planning and etc. So we are going to send it out and we just to assist our planning. We had a senior management team meeting also this afternoon online just before I came online with you, and where we also realized that a survey like that will really help us with our planning going forward. The question I got, why did we teach on a public holiday yesterday and as well this coming Friday? Why do we have school? We have that because you as parents had the little ones now for close to 5 weeks at home before we started. And we as the school found it's wrong to take those public holidays and ask you again to keep your kids busy without a program. We also need to continue running our curriculum to know that we are not running out of time when we get to the end of the year. And that's another aim, is to make sure that no child loses out on the curriculum and that we can finish our curriculum by the end of the year. If it was a religious public holiday, of course, we would have been closed. We would have not had those online lessons. But both of them are not religious holidays, and that's why we decided to have those lessons. I also need to remind you that if you're a parent, if you feel you're not comfortable teaching the kids on those public holidays, that's why the lessons are not live. It's available for you to catch up later with that lesson with your child on a later stage if you didn't want to teach them on the public holidays. But we as a school, we continue running because we want to give you value for your money. And as I explained, we want to finish the curriculum by the end of the year. The holidays will be reduced, but we will not cancel holidays going forward. Let's, for example, we allowed to come back in the first week in June, for example, and we have no holiday until end of December or mid-December when we close. I think that's unrealistic, and that will be unrealistic on my staff and on your kids. So where we would have had a 3-week holiday in June, July, we'll probably only have a week now. If we in September we would have had a 2-week holiday, we'll only have a week. I'm getting questions about when will those dates be. We can only answer all these questions when we know we're allowed to open our doors. And even before we open our doors, we will then be able, but we know the starting date, we will then tell you these are the holidays we will take. But it will only be a week in July sometime, and it will only be a week in October sometime. And we do believe that schools will only probably close mid-December. And so, again, as I said earlier, with aftercare, some parents asking why to pay now. As you can hear, the holidays are going to be reduced. So the time that you're paying for now will be made up in that sense. And schools will only probably close the second week in December. And again, those are 2 weeks extra that you would have not had aftercare, and now there will be aftercare, for example. So all those things will be taken into account as well. So, and then as soon as we have our holidays available, we will then be, when our starting date available, we will then make our holidays book available, and we'll make our term calendars available. But please do not work more than on a week in July and for more on a week in September. If we only start in July or we start in mid-June, then we'll probably not have that week at all. We'll only have a week then somewhere in September, and then going forward in December, we'll close in mid-December. Again, these are only things that I can really confirm once we have a confirmed starting date from the ministers. I'm talking about 2 separate weeks of holidays. We might eventually only end up having 1 because we're starting later. All of that will be confirmed as soon as we have a starting date from the Minister of Education. Also, the question, if we have a positive COVID-19 case, we will have to close that section. So we'll have to do investigation to see which section it took place, which is it a staff member or child that had contact, who did they have contact with, but we'll probably have to close, we'll have to close that section. We will then have to sanitize and clean that whole area, and then we can only reopen after that. We are waiting for the exact guidelines on that point, for how long we'll have to close, what exactly will be required from us as a school, from a sanitizing point and cleaning point of view. What are they going to require us to do before we're able to open again? But the point is, if we have a confirmed COVID-19 case, we will then have to shut down that section. We're also waiting to hear, should we then shut down the whole school, or is it only the section? The advice this afternoon seems like it will only be that section where it happened. And then also, as I now said, what's the guidelines regarding what we need to do as a school to be able to open that section again. Then we're getting questions about reports and assessments and top 10 ranking. What I'm talking about reports now is only applicable for the foundation phase. Your reports and marks and comments were done and were completed just before we had to go on to this lockdown period. We will be able to generate the foundation phase reports in the next 2 weeks. I did not want to ask our staff to do that while we had to get into this new way of teaching online, etc. I didn't want to put that extra stress on the staff. But we are now at a point where we will be able to generate reports. And remember, reports for term 1, term 2, and term 3 will be non-paper reports. There will be PDF documents that will be made available on Engage portal, the parent portal. Those parents that will require a printed report, you can then talk to us individually. But again, we are, as an eco-friendly school, we are trying to make the paper print less at school. And that's why we decided that term 1, term 2, and term 3, we must generate PDF reports that is available on the parent portal. And in a year's time, if you want to print term 1 of 2020, it is available on the portal. So all reports going forward will always be available on the portal, which will also make it easier for you to access those reports. But for the foundation phase, because your marks and comments were in, we will make that available in the next 2 weeks. And I'll be able to give you an exact date by Monday, the 4th of May. Then also the question about assessments. Even in my heads conference this afternoon, they said to us, don't worry about assessments. At this stage, we only want your kids to catch up on the work and to ensure that we are continuing with the curriculum, and we want to make sure that they're settling in with it and continue with the curriculum and keeping them calm. We do not want to burden them also with assessments at home now and add an extra burden and an extra pressure on them and on you as well. Assessments is very easy to catch up when they're back, and we will not bombard them with that as well when they're back. But the curriculum, continuing the curriculum, continuing making sure that their development, their progression in the development, academic development, that's important for us now, and that's 99% of the schools, independent school stance in South Africa. And I hope I've answered that question. The reports, because we will generate the reports in the next 2 weeks, we will then also be able to make available the top 10 ranking for the grades that top 10 ranking is applicable to. The question about 2021 re-registrations, we will continue our normal process like we normally do. In August, September, we will send out our letter asking you as the current parent to indicate to us if you're coming back in 2021 or if you are going to withdraw because you are taking a transfer to another province or whatever the reason is. So the re-registration process will be the same normal process that we only do in August or September. So I hope I've answered that question as well. And then we do know that quite a lot of our families are currently struggling because mom and dad both lost their jobs. are struggling with food at home, and they are struggling. Also, there are families that just don't have the means to have, they might have 2 kids at home and they don't have another computer equipment like a laptop, an iPad, or cell phone. So we'd like to do a drive and start a drive where, first of all, for the food side, we thought it's easier if one buy the Checkers voucher. Then there's no money involved, and what one can do is one can then send that voucher to the person's cell phone number. One then also know that they actually are using that money for food. If you are interested in something like that, please send an email to me directly, where we will then talk about, I will give you the details through of how we will do it. And it's also a way that we can control this, because we can then also allocate you to which with that we've assisted, who we assisted with that money as well. The same with the cell phone. We all have those additional cell phones lying at home as well. Those extra phones that we're not using. If you have any of those phones that's still workable and it is a smartphone, and you not going to have it use it again, please clear it. The memory, even Brian Ward, our IT manager, will be able to clear it. You can drop it off at security, and we can then repurpose it for those families that we know are really in need for that second device at home. Some of our families don't even have a device at home. We as a school already asked around and we already have helped a couple of parents with some staff members that had a spare laptop at home that they were not using anymore, or had a spare cell phone. But we realized that there are demand for these, for some parents that really struggle through this. Even if you as a parent would like to sponsor another family with data because they just don't have the means to buy the data during this time, you're also more than welcome to make a contact with me, and I'll give you the arrangements through. We'll also give this arrangements through on our school website and Facebook in the next day, if you all would like to wait for those instructions to come through and then do it in that sense. I just think it's the right thing for those of us that can still help to maybe assist and lighten their burden during this difficult time. As you can see, this little guy jumping from the one cliff to the next, and you can see what I've said there. Challenges make life interesting. Overcoming them makes life meaningful. And I do believe that we as a St. Patrick CBC family, we are in this together, and we will get through this together. And I do believe also that we as a CBC family will overcome these challenges. There's my contact details. There's my email address. There's my personal cell phone number. Please contact me. If you have feedback on tonight's presentation, please contact me. If you have other questions that I didn't answer tonight, you're more than welcome to contact me either via email or via WhatsApp, or phone me. I'm available if you just want to talk. I'm available for that as well. So please make contact with me if you have feedback on tonight or you have more questions. Also, if you have suggestions, please feed them through to me. I really appreciate it. We as the CBC family, we are in this together, and we'll get through this together. And that's our slogan that we adopted for this period while we're going through this crisis. And I also really like to thank you as the CBC family for your support, for your ongoing positiveness, for your ongoing suggestions and feedback. It's all of that that help us to make the product that we're sending out home to make it even better. I really, really, really value you as a parent and your little one at home. I hope that you are experiencing a smooth journey with us currently. And as I now asked many times tonight, if there's anything else that we can do make that journey easier, please send it through. But otherwise, thank you, a huge thank you for your support. And I can only ask for your continuous support during this difficult times. I wish you all a wonderful evening, and I can't wait for all of us to come back as a CBC family when we're allowed to be back, to come back and to spend the time together again as family. I miss you as parents. I miss the little ones. I miss having my staff all together here. And I know that once this epidemic is over and we are allowed to have crowds together again, I know we're going to throw a big party on backfield, having a wonderful picnic like we did earlier this year. And I know that you as parents and little ones can't wait to come back, and that we have what we're missing, that CBC family, that CBC togetherness. And I can assure you that we as staff and as management, all of us are missing that as well. I'm missing my coffee mornings with all of you as well, and I can't wait to have that again. Thank you for joining us, and I wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you.